This is a Concord grape, which as you can see, somebody last year pruned it. Very similar to a wine grape, which really doesn't work very well because the fruiting buds on a Concord are from like bud 4 to 8 instead of bud 2 to 4 like they are on a wine grape. So what that really means, to make a long story short, is you just have to leave the shoots a lot longer on a Concord to get any fruit out of it. We didn't get a whole lot of fruit out of these grapes last year because of this, but this year we're just gonna prune these guys a little early, and that way we'll get some more fruit out of these if we get a good ripening season. You get a short season in Wisconsin, you don't get anything off of these anyway. But years ago, when I was growing up in the 60s, this was all you had in Wisconsin. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take everything down to 8 buds, and that way, and that don't include the laterals, because I don't know about Concord, but laterals don't produce fruit on a wine grape, so probably that could be wrong, but we'll see. So I'm going to cut them all down, and hopefully we'll get some good. You never know, I might even make a Concord wine eventually, but I haven't yet. I know Von Stiel sells a lot of it. It's kind of like one of the favorite sacramental wines is Concord, which is kind of funny. And I guess that would be because it was one of the only grapes we had in this area back in for hundreds of years, really. And so therefore, you made wine out of what you could. That's an interesting thing about wine in general is back before Christ, wine was used for religious ceremonies more often than anything else. It's an interesting little fact. So the priests were all hanging one on, and nobody else had access to it. All right, so you see, I'm kind of leaving these really long, and they're a little out of hand right now, but I'm going to at least leave 6 buds on each one. Because if you leave 8, a lot of them are going to be hitting the ground already, and that's not good. And let's see, those over there are St. Croix, so those are going to be trimmed just like all the other wine grapes. All right, so I cleaned up a lot of this stuff now, and so now we're ready. I'm taking off all of the laterals, which a lateral is a shoot that if it were this growing season, you get a shoot, and then another shoot grows off of that. That's called a lateral. The laterals are by and far not productive, so you always want to cut them off, and they always get tangled anyways. So laterals are an undesirable characteristic of a grape shoot. So right now, all I'm doing is cutting off laterals and junk so that everything's nice and clean. And what that does is it makes so that when the fruit does get ripe, it makes it easier to access if you don't have all that junk hanging around. Okay, here's another lateral. Here's another lateral. They're all over the place. The 2 grapes in the vineyard, the wine grapes that have a lot of laterals, are Marquette is the worst. Marquette just loaded with laterals, and when you prune, you get even more laterals. So, and I'm talking about green pruning. When you thin out shoots, once everything's growing, you end up getting a whole big burst of laterals growing, and that's one of the reasons you don't want to over thin. All right, so now these are down to 8. I'm going to take them down to 6. And yeah, I'm going to take that one to 4. And this is crisscrossing, so I'm just going to take that off right there. And ta-da. So now, all you're really looking at now is the fruit is going to hang closely off of what you got right here. So you're going to look at, is that going to be okay for fruiting? And to me right now, that looks pretty good. This has got way too many buds for a wine grape. But as I said, this is a Concord. And you can fruit them a lot more. My grandparents had had an arbor with Concord, and that thing fruited probably 20 bushels. And I don't know, there might have been 3-4 trunks coming up, but it was 20 or 30 bushels of grapes you get off of that thing. And it did it 2 out of 3 years, you got a crop. And that was in Peshtigo, way further north than this. So that's my story about how much you can fruit. How much you can fruit a Concord. Okay, I think she's pretty close. We got a little bit of junk here and there, but just a little bit of cleanup left on this, and this thing's ready to go for the season. And of course, you can always hang these over the vine on the top. It'll help hold up some of that weight of the fruit. Because believe it or not, this much is going to fruit this vine pretty heavy. I'd say you get a good year, this is going to produce 40 or 50 pounds of grapes. So that's a lot of grapes for one vine. If that was wine grapes, you'd be saying that's overcropping, but it's not. So that's about it. Next we'll go to a wine grape.